Chille DeCastro's return to live streaming on Monday failed to pop the market for the funds he's associated with, as the entire market put up goose eggs for Monday, with DeCastro failing to more than half-heartedly promote the GoFundMe campaigns of any of his associates. DeCastro made a brief mention of Craig Hendry on his live stream, alienating associates like BZ Watchdog, who is also raising funds for his legal defense on GoFundMe. DeCastro claimed that he has put money on Hendry's GoFundMe and has contributed over $1,000 to Hendry's GoFundMe campaign. This is deceptive, as Hendry's new GoFundMe hasn't had a donation in a week now, standing at $885 out of a $15,000 goal, with DeCastro listed as giving a $100 donation over 8 days ago. No anonymous donations combined or standing alone make up more than another $100 towards the fund. Hendry's second older campaign stands at $3,471 out of a $4,000 goal, and has only received a single donation of $50 since DeCastro accidentally promoted it last week. There are no new donations from DeCastro in that period. Even taken as a whole, with all of DeCastro's fans being included in his donation, there were several $100s in donations made before DeCastro got involved in the newer campaign, and over $3,400 contributed to the older campaign before he became involved. His contributions along with his followers could account for $500 at best of the overall take for last week. DeCastro's 4-hour-long broadcast was intended to showcase his help of fellow First Amendment auditor Oklahoma Cop Watch with a critique of a recent interaction between the YouTuber and police. After several false starts, as Oklahoma Cop Watch was too busy putting up Christmas lights to attend his own interview, the two got together for the interview. DeCastro's main advice consisted of having Oklahoma Cop Watch's hearings delayed for as long as possible, as police officers tend to quit the force a lot, and he could catch a break, and the police officer might now show up to the hearing. DeCastro returned to reviewing anti-police videos during the live stream, with fans warning DeCastro about his high blood pressure and advanced weight issues. DeCastro had claimed at the start of the video that he had eaten so much over the past few weeks that he was now wearing a 2XL hoodie from his own marketplace. As DeCastro went to bring out JD, his anti-police Southern character, he received several super chats reminding him that he needed to slow down and watch his blood pressure. DeCastro responded by saying that he was about to stroke out as he was so angry over another forgettable anti-police story and phone call to a police department. The YouTuber made $132 in Super Chats during the broadcast from Super Chats, and the video had been seen a little under 3,000 times as of press time. He promised an early morning live stream where he'd focus on building his wall for constitutional law scholar, but had not gone live by 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. We need your help. This newscast is funded by your donations along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos and like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Direct D to face federal cyberstalking charges? Christopher Direct D Ruff briefly went live on his YouTube channel Monday evening to address possible federal cyberstalking charges that may be brought against him by the Federal Bureau of Investigation on behalf of Maricopa County, Arizona, County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. Ruff claimed that he had a report from attorney Vladimir Gajic that Mitchell and fiancé Paul Stout had filed a complaint about Ruff to the FBI. The report supposedly was about Ruff releasing a video on Twitter/X featuring the song Bodies by Drowning Pool that shows Mitchell's face and the signatures of Mitchell and Stout. The YouTuber claimed that he was a journalist and that his video was a normal part of his journalistic practices. He explained that everything in the video, from the signatures of Mitchell and Trout to their signatures, were public information, and scoffed at the idea that the video itself could be seen as a threat. Ruff spent a great deal of time correcting the report that Mitchell was reporting him to the FBI for his activities on YouTube, when he clearly posted the video on Twitter/X Ruff exclaimed that Twitter/X's lax policies on copyrighted material meant that he could post videos featuring music on the service instead of on YouTube. Ruff then played a snippet of the video on his YouTube stream. The Phoenix New Times reported that Stout recently saw an injunction against Gagic upheld by the Maricopa County Superior Court. That article confirmed a long-standing social media feud between the men, in which Stout admitted using burner accounts on Twitter/X to attack Gagic and other people who criticized his fiancée online. Gagic is famous for a 2018 incident in Phoenix, where he was attacked by his own client in court. That client punched him in the mouth after Gagic reportedly ignored the client during a court hearing. Gagic was later suspended from his role as a contract attorney for the county. Mitchell recently filed a complaint to the Arizona State Bar Association against Gagic for his comments about her online. Ruff has pledged to defend Gagic with his undivided attention. Ruff is currently claiming to be on a road trip to Indiana and Kentucky with friend Freedom Jim as he sat outside a trailer smoking during the live stream. Rumors have circulated that the purpose of the trip is for Ruff to mess with Christopher for public safety writer as part of the ongoing dispute between the YouTubers. Floyd Wallace demands fans pay for activities. The former Mr. Passport Bro, Floyd Wallace, went live on his foreign-only YouTube channel early Tuesday morning to announce that he was sticking to his pledge not to feature anything exciting on his live streams, as his viewers did not deserve excitement until they started donating to his cause. Wallace announced that his fans had until December 6th to come up with the $170 he needed for his Brazil trip, or else he would need to postpone it for later in the month. He complained bitterly that he was broke and that his fans were not financially supporting him on the level that he needed to do things like Roomba dancing and motorcycling. The YouTuber premiered the first of his blogs on Monday that he claims are a replacement for his live streams. That video featured Wallace's date with an underage-looking girl who barely interacted with him in the 15 to 30-second clips he featured of the girl. She took him to 2 meals on a motorcycle before giving him a hug at the end of the date. Wallace explained on the live stream that the girl refused to sexually gratify him before their date, as he thought she was on her period. His interest in the girl waned over the course of the date as he filmed himself trying to pick up a cook at the second restaurant the pair visited. He claims that he has no intention of following up on her with another date. The sex tourist has received harsh criticism from his side chat for approaching and attempting to date girls who appear younger than 18 years of age. Wallace has also announced that due to criticism of his Spanish by those same viewers, he will be using a translation application on his phone to help approach women while on his sex tours. After a question from his audience, Wallace made controversial remarks about trans people. He wondered if a trans person could regrow their private parts after having gender reassignment surgery, then said he would turn someone over to the police for rape if they revealed that they were trans after having sexual intercourse with him and not disclosing that fact first. More controversy followed as Wallace, who frequents pay-to-play services, said he'd never date a professional even if she gave up her job as a sex worker. Wallace disparaged sex workers and that women were smart for selling themselves for sex, but he would never consider having a relationship with a sex worker. Wallace returned to complaining about his fans and a lack of donations from his fans, and said he'd go to a strip club for a $500 donation, but would not film it because of the possibility of a community guideline strike due to nudity. The YouTuber was lazy in his approach to those donations, forgetting to give out his Cash App, PayPal, or GoFundMe during the live stream. He relied on super chats throughout the event, making $37 for his efforts on the stream. Wallace reminded his moderators that dues payments for moderation tools were currently due, and it was $10 for basic moderation tools and $25 for moderation manager tools. He is expected to live stream again on Tuesday. Captain Chad Gue updates recovery and future plans. Concerned fans of Captain Chad Gue of the Iron Police Department got a much-needed update Monday night, as Gue released a 5-minute video updating his medical condition following a harrowing time over the Thanksgiving holiday. Sporting an eye patch over his left eye, Gue said that he was at work on November 24th when he started experiencing blurriness in his left eye. He initially wrote it off due to the fluorescent lighting at work, but noticed it got worse as he attempted to take an online course provided by the Peace Officers Training Academy. As his vision grew worse, he texted his wife that something was wrong, then had a friend drive him to a local emergency room. He was then transferred to the Ohio State Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, initially ruling out a stroke or an aneurysm. Doctors have been perplexed by Gu's condition, with the current theory being that he had some sort of nerve issue in his left eye that could be caused by blood pressure issues. Gu claimed that he has overall double vision, as his eyes were unable to align with each other to focus on anything. He said he was wearing the eye patch over the left eye as he had basic vision with his right eye and was able to get around with his right eye. However, Gu is not clear to go back to work, and it'll be some time before he returns to his normal duties, as his impairment means he'll be staying at home for the foreseeable future. He said he was bored and tired as he was worried about his condition. While doctors say that he should eventually regain full eyesight in both eyes, it is now a waiting period as he heals. He thanked his wonderful support crew for their help during this time and put stock in his faith to get him through. Gu entered the public eye when he accepted Jose Chille DeCastro's challenge to a cage match following DeCastro's visit to Ironton, Ohio, in 2022. Later that year, DeCastro backed out of the match, citing a knee injury and high blood pressure. Since then, while Gu has remained relatively quiet online, DeCastro has been obsessed with the police officer, famously threatening Gu in 2023 to resign from his job or face unspecified consequences from the stout YouTuber. When the time limit DeCastro gave came and went without Gu's resignation, DeCastro never mentioned his threat or the circumstances surrounding his threat again. Since then, DeCastro has relied on reports from former Ironton police officer Beth Rist to keep him up to date with goings-on in the Ironton police force. With Rist's information usually proving to be invalid, DeCastro's occasional attacks on Gu have become comical at best and easily dispelled. Rist's recent report to DeCastro that Gu had a stroke last week was one of these, resulting in DeCastro both mocking Gu and offering concern for his recovery while putting out incorrect information about said recovery. Gu promised to provide updates as his recovery progresses. Long Island audit goes live about outrage again. In a stunning new outrage from Sean Paul, Long Island audit Reyes, he went live again Tuesday night to explain that the Nassau County Traffic Parking Agency was conspiring against him to file false reports to see him prosecuted and thrown in jail. Or it's the holiday season. The video has been seen 71,000 times in the last 8 hours, and it's been 7 days since his Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund's last donation. It's been 25 days since his Support Freedom, Stand Against Tyranny Together Fund received a donation. It's been 27 days since his Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights Violation campaign had a donation. It's been 2 months since his fund Legal Defense Against Unlawful Arrest Fund had a donation. It's been 3 months since his help with billboard truck purchase to expose Tyranny Fund's last donation. It's been 8 months since his help LIA with legal fees to fight tyrants lawsuit received a donation. It's been 10 months since his help with criminal defense attorney for this case fund saw a donation. While the YouTuber again failed to link his GoFundMe campaigns, Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal donation tabs, his use of strategic live streaming usually brings someone around to one of his many GoFundMe donations for at least a $5 donation to keep hope alive for another week. While unsuccessful, as none of our followed campaigns saw any play for Tuesday, Reyes' intentions were obvious, as he offered no real new information about the case he was so outraged over. He essentially claimed he was wrongly arrested, officials lied because he was never told to leave, and the building, legally considered part of a larger courtroom, wasn't really a courtroom, so he could record and you could buy his merch, get a cameo greeting, and or give him more money to fight the man. His heart didn't seem in the fight Tuesday night, but he went through the motions anyway, as it should fuel his ongoing efforts to sue Nassau County, overthrow the corrupt police commissioner Patrick Psycho Ryder, and further the cause of righteousness for the richest auditor on YouTube. We'll continue to monitor the situation as it's another slow news day. We need your help. This newscast is funded by your donations along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper, and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos and like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Serio no-shows sweep the leg challenge. YouTuber Glenn Serio no-showed his court hearing in Snohomish County, Washington, small claims court Tuesday afternoon, effectively no-showing the so-called sweep the leg challenge posed to him by Discord user Touche. Touche reported that she arrived in small claims court a little before the court opened at 9 a.m. Pacific time and didn't see Serio in the courtroom. When roll was called for Serio's case against suing Everett, Washington, crime scene analyst Erica Bennett at 9:15 a.m. Pacific time, Bennett was represented by attorney Ramsey Ramerman via Zoom, while Serio failed to appear. Judge Matthew D. Baldock checked with Ramerman to confirm that both sides had received notice of the hearing, then dismissed the case against Bennett due to Serio's non-appearance. Serio had been suing Bennett for $10,000 after claiming that his identity was compromised after she published a police bulletin about Serio as part of her duties for the Everett, Washington, police force several years ago. Because the bulletin contained Serio's driver's license number and social security number to help police identify Serio, Serio claimed that Bennett was responsible for his identity being compromised when the bulletin made its way online years later. The lawsuit itself was part of Serio's apparent plan to raise money to fund federal civil rights lawsuits against several cities in Washington state, including a $500 million lawsuit against the city of Everett. Serio sued several police officers, non-police worker Bennett and YouTuber Tella Klein, over the past 6 months, demanding $10,000, the maximum for small claims court payouts in Washington state, from each of the defendants. Tuesday's loss brought Serio's current efforts to a close, as all of the other lawsuits he attempted had also been dismissed over the past 4 months. Bennett's case was set for a second round of mediation attempts on Tuesday, but now will not move forward due to the dismissal. The loss also means that Serio no-showed the sweep the leg challenge posed to Serio by Discord user Touche, who, along with YouTuber JaneDoe6181, put up $1,500 in cash as prize money if Serio was successful in his efforts. Serio had made the challenge to dozens of male emergency workers, members of the armed forces and police officers over the years, claiming he could break the kneecaps of anyone who challenged him. When Touche accepted his challenge and notified Serio of the acceptance multiple times, Serio turned turtle and refused to respond to her proposal for the challenge to be held after his court hearing on Tuesday. Touche will be appearing on the Sue Bear Presents Serio prequel, Sweep the Leg Aftermath, show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, on this YouTube channel to discuss Serio's courtroom antics. Regan Benson attends Englewood City Council meeting. YouTuber and activist Regan Benson sat outside the Englewood City Council chambers Monday night, watching the meeting on the Englewood City Council's YouTube channel. Benson had encountered Deputy Police Chief Vance Fender before the meeting as Fender was leaving the building. Fender said he was not on duty and was simply walking to his car, when Benson began to scream at him, calling him a profanity, and he said that Benson couldn't talk to him like that, and got into his vehicle and left. That claim stuck with Benson after the deputy police chief left, and she brought it up with the police officer working security at the event as she went through security. She asked if harassment laws applied to police and received a non-committal answer from the officer before moving over to the windows outside the city council meeting. Benson has been banned from the city council chambers for 45 days after multiple outbursts during city council meetings. She appealed and lost, blaming corrupt city attorney Tamara Twat Niles for choosing an independent mediator who would side with Englewood unfairly. As she watched the meeting through the windows, she noticed a man was scrolling on his phone while watching the meeting. Benson alerted the police officer at the security desk of her accusations against the man and wanted the security guard to go in and remove the man from the meeting for obviously recording. Recording of the city council meetings is not allowed within the chamber unless the person doing the recording is sitting in the designated press area. Benson has been upset that a man sitting outside of the press area received a man from the Civic Center for recording last month. After the officer observed the man scrolling on his phone, he said that it appeared that the man was simply scrolling on his phone. Benson was not satisfied with this answer and briefly confronted the man when the city council took a break later in the night, with the man assuring her that he was not recording. Increasingly bored and with no real purpose to be at the meeting, Benson brought up random topics during her 3-hour live stream. At one point, Benson brought up a recent incident that she described as road rage that happened between an Englewood police officer and her husband. Benson said that her husband had just driven through a road in Englewood that contained the Flock's safety automated license plate recognition system when an Englewood police vehicle paced his car for a few seconds. According to Benson, the police vehicle then cut her husband's car off aggressively and weaved between lanes for a few blocks before making a left-hand turn and disappearing from his view. Benson said that this was targeted harassment and that her husband would be filing a complaint with the Englewood police. Turning her attention to newly appointed police chief David Jackson, Benson warned that the Englewood police chief was on his third strike with her as he would not acknowledge her at his swearing-in ceremony, which was closed to the public. She said she would think of removing strikes if Jackson started firing some of the police officers she felt were corrupt on the Englewood police force. She then said that the firings would never happen as unions and other protections were in place to keep even the most corrupt cops on the job. Benson later brought up City Council member Joe Anderson, again calling him a cult leader as he leads a church in the area. She said that she had learned that he has 6 children and asked her followers to imagine what he was doing to 6 children as a cult leader. She later confronted Anderson after the meeting ended, as Anderson was in the process of retrieving his bicycle. She said that Anderson was a cult leader, would never be mayor, and that she would have a better day if Anderson quit the city council when he asked her how she was doing. Benson moved to her car, taking on random subjects for the next hour. Of them, her stance on Denver's homeless micro-community stood out. Last year, she was given the ability to choose 2 slots at the new facility for 2 people that she worked with as an advocate for the homeless. Recently, she learned that one of the 2 people she had decided to house at the facility had moved into permanent housing. When she inquired about the open slot, she was told by the Denver mayor's office that she no longer had any influence over the slot as it was a one-time deal. This may be a continuing issue with Benson and the mayor's office, as she stated that she had 2 possible candidates living on the streets in the area of the micro-community. We will continue to monitor Benson's ongoing outrage. As previously predicted, Sean Paul, Long Island Audits, Reyes sparked a brief jump in his GoFundMe campaigns as a support the fight against tyranny and corruption campaign. His default fundraiser brought in $10 following his overdramatic live stream Tuesday night. Reyes' GoFundMe campaigns have been a concern as his 3 most active campaigns: the Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign, the Support Freedom, Stand Against Tyranny Together Fund, and the Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights Violation campaign have seen a recent drought in donations over the past month. Part of the drought comes as Reyes has gotten lazy about promoting his ongoing campaigns, PayPal, and Cash App donation links in recent videos. It seems that his YouTube default settings have changed, and all of his promotional material has been removed on his latest live streams. It's unclear if he is aware of this change, but his fans eventually find his GoFundMe campaigns after overdramatic takes in late evening live streams. Reyes has brought in a little over $100,000 in GoFundMe donations over the past year and has been accused of exploiting his fans as he was reportedly rich before taking in their donations. He was allegedly able to buy his $156,000 billboard truck on his own before starting a GoFundMe to help with the purchase, for example, and it is widely known that he is living far above the means of any other First Amendment auditor. Reyes' $10 take came in second for the day, as our own ongoing expenses campaign took in a surprise $100 donation on Wednesday to take the market lead for the day. No other campaigns received donations for the day. Surprisingly, there's been silence from the camp of Craig Hendry and continued silence from Jose Chille DeCastro. With Hendry's sentencing date in his felony harassment case fast approaching, and Hendry not expected to receive more than 6 months of jail time. At this rate, he will not achieve the goals needed to fund the transcripts or the attorney for his appeal before the end of his sentence. DeCastro's hollow promises to help Hendry are proving to be a factor now that DeCastro has lost his fundraising mojo. Others who had previously turned to DeCastro may start to question the amount of money DeCastro can bring in now that his fundraising skills and abilities have apparently been neutered by recent events. We need your help. This newscast is funded by your donations along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos and like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Guerrilla Publishing buys himself a drunk. Disgraced attorney Ron Durbin had a big day in Oklahoma as he bought himself a drunk from a drunk tank and may or may not have solved the case of an allegedly stolen steer chaser. Durbin started the day with a visit to the Pawhuska, Oklahoma, City Hall, where he put in a FOIA request to inquire into budget items passed by the City Council, telling his fans he would file a lawsuit should the FOIA request not be fulfilled same day. Durbin moved on from the City Hall to the Osage County Courthouse, where explained he was still investigating Pawhuska City Manager Jerry Eubanks. Eubanks is accused of stealing equipment from the towns of Fairview and Blackwell, ultimately allegedly selling a $15,000 steer chaser to himself for $500. Durbin said that he could get a grand jury to investigate Eubanks if he raised 2,600 signatures from residents of the county. Scoffing at that, Durbin said he was just going to talk to Judge Stuart Tate of Osage County. Durbin was greeted warmly at the courthouse by police officers on the scene, who escorted him to the judge's office. Durbin ended up leaving a message for the judge, explaining that the judge needed to convene a grand jury immediately to take up the Eubanks issue. The YouTuber then drove to Eubanks' property, where he spent a great deal of time figuring out how to fly a drone over the property. Eventually, Durbin claimed that he had enough footage to prove that the skid steer was on the property, though all he showed was blurry images to his live stream from the view screen on the drone's controller. As he was driving back to town, Durbin was passed by Eubanks and another police vehicle. Durbin turned around and returned to Eubanks' property, getting out of his car and shouting threats at Eubanks before again exiting the scene. Durbin encountered an Osage County Sheriff's Department vehicle on the way out, stopping the vehicle to ask what he needed to do to file a complaint with his footage. The deputy directed him to the Osage County Jail, where he would later meet up with Durbin after Durbin retrieved his FOIA request from the Pawhuska City Hall. After filing his report with the sheriff's office, Durbin dramatically bailed out a random 20-year-old man who was being held for public intoxication. The man seemed confused by Durbin's presence and wary of him in general as Durbin drove the man home, promising that he would get a new person out of jail every day from that point forward. Wednesday's live stream continues Durbin's investigation of the city of Pawhuska, after Durbin was ejected from a Pawhuska City Council meeting earlier in the year. Durbin claims that the city council conspired to illegally hire Eubanks and most recently protested a bonus that the city council allotted to Eubanks for overtime work. Durbin's law license is still suspended by the Oklahoma Bar Association. Durbin has promised that he'll be filing his federal civil rights lawsuit against the Bar Association next week. Floyd Wallace returned to live streaming twice on Wednesday, reversing his policy to no longer live stream dates as he acted disrespectfully towards his featured dates on both live streams. The first live stream featured a heavy-set woman holding Wallace's hand while she guided him through the busy streets of Park Barrio in Medellin, Colombia. Wallace explained that he cold approached the woman earlier, one of 5 girls he successfully approached earlier, and she had called him to hang out. Cold approaching is essentially Wallace's term for trying to get the Instagram or phone numbers of women he hasn't met before. Much like cold calling in advertising, Wallace expects sexual encounters with the women he successfully cold approaches. As the woman stopped to get a pedicure, Wallace bragged that he and the woman met and had sex at his Airbnb and that he needed to choke the woman during sex in the shower. Since the woman spoke little English and was sitting a few feet from him, Wallace began to read insults about the woman in English, essentially laughing at her to her face. Bragging that he has smashed 4 women in Colombia since returning to his sex tours, Wallace was horrified when the pedicure attendant responded in English to a query, quickly changing subjects and acting sheepishly on camera. After the pedicure, the woman led Wallace around a busy marketplace, with Wallace disrespectfully stopping to cold approach several more women in front of her before ending the live stream. The second live stream featured Wallace back at this Airbnb with the woman known as the Stud. While the description of the video said that her name was Alexia, Wallace referred to her as Amiga throughout the video and largely ignored her as she cooked, claiming it was great content. Wallace would be later joined on panel by a man using a "WTF is you doing bro" description. The man took Wallace to task for calling his current live stream content, posing to Wallace what had changed about his approach to life. The man pointed out that Wallace only came on with content was a paywall where Wallace only live streamed when he was desperate for money. He explained that most of Wallace's viewers were watching because they were waiting for something awful to happen to him, and nothing else. Wallace admitted that he only went to Colombia for his sex tours as he can't get women in the United States. The man pointed out that Wallace was unreasonable every time he suffered a setback and lashed out and gave up as soon as he experienced adversity in the United States. The man said that while he wanted Wallace to do better, and Wallace was doing the bare minimum to get donations from his fans. He said that Wallace wasn't putting any effort into his content and pointed out that donations should be a bonus and not Wallace's main source of income. Wallace and the man differed on how much his fans donated towards his car, and Wallace refused the man's offer to take out insurance on him to make money off the potential death or injury Wallace may face by acting stupid. The policy of privatizing the majority of his videos came up, and Wallace refused to admit that he was scamming people as he was cutting them off from content that they paid to see. The man demanded that Wallace admitted that he was just scamming people to get through life and had no intention of changing. Wallace talked around the demand. The man told Wallace's viewers that the best thing they could do is to stop giving Wallace money. He said that everyone was enabling Wallace to continue the lifestyle and not grow up and take part in society as a fully functioning adult. Longtime subscriber SNO Travels replaced the man on panel, and Wallace admitted he was paying the Stud 50,000 pesos to cook and clean for him before ending the live stream. Craig Henry's still silent on all social media. A random donation to Craig Henry's to support Craig's work fund was enough to take the day for Wednesday, as the jailed YouTuber and social activist brought in $10 in funding from one of his supporters. Henry is currently awaiting sentencing for his recent conviction of felony stalking charges out of Vermilion County, Indiana. The YouTuber has been jailed after having his bond revoked for picking up new felony charges out of Sullivan County, Indiana earlier this year. The YouTuber had been actively sending updates from jail up until 2 weeks ago when Chille DeCastro took over the handling of promoting the fund. DeCastro held a single fundraiser for Henry, taking in several $100s before seemingly forgetting as DeCastro was dealing with his own problems. As it stands now, DeCastro's efforts have seen both of Henry's GoFundMe accounts go dry on funding for nearly 2 weeks with no changes in sight, as DeCastro has more important issues to focus on. Meanwhile, as expected, Sean Paul Long Island Audits Reyes brought in a mini stampede of donations as he took second for the day, with a $5 donation to his Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together fund. This fund has been one of Reyes' more active of his 7 GoFundMe campaigns, previously taking in $288 in donations for November. That total saw it place 5th in the overall rankings for the month of November. No other funds were active for Wednesday. We need your help. This newscast is funded by your donations along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos and like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Chille DeCastro no-shows court hearing. Chille DeCastro failed to appear at Thursday's scheduled status conference for his lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Piratini, Kate Peter, Daniel Clement and Team Skeptic, prompting observers to wonder if he's abandoned the lawsuit entirely. DeCastro filed suit in 2023 against the foursome in essentially a revisit of his 2022 federal lawsuit against Kate Peter and Josh Abrams, before he changed it to a federal copyright lawsuit against the pair and YouTube/Google. The lawsuit claimed that Peter ran an actual mafia group that conspired to terrorize DeCastro over the course of the summer of 2022 into 2023. In the suit, DeCastro alleges the group did everything from smearing Nutella on the front door of an Airbnb he was staying at, to stealing his minivan in 2022. DeCastro has stated on multiple occasions that he doesn't care about the outcome of the lawsuit. Instead, as a pro se plaintiff, he intended to force the defendants to get attorneys and sue them into financial oblivion by filing his lawsuit in as many venues as possible. This strategy worked for a time until DeCastro messed up his service to both Daniel Clement and Team Skeptic, and would have messed up his service to Piratini, except for Piratini's strange decision to become a defendant in the case for what the hell reasons. DeCastro got a clerk to declare Kate Peter was in default in the case as she simply stopped responding to the summons in the case. He did not receive a default judgment against her, as that part of the case has not come yet. He'll eventually have to prove his charges to receive a win. Again, things were going well for DeCastro until Piratini lawyered up and DeCastro refused to work with the defense or the court in any real way, shape or form. DeCastro has refused to be deposed, failed to provide even basic answers to discovery requests, and even had to hire his own lawyer after Piratini's lawyer was successful in having sanctions awarded for DeCastro's actions. Most recently, DeCastro's lawsuit barely survived a motion for summary judgment and DeCastro simply did not reply to the follow-up filings. Those filings were dated October 1, 2024, and addressed the final sticking points to having the case against Piratini dismissed. DeCastro, nor his attorney of record, Stephen T. Jeblin, attended Thursday's status update hearing nor provided any correspondence on record as to why they wouldn't be at the hearing. It was rescheduled for January 23, 2025, and will be held the same day as a previously scheduled sanctions hearing. Jeblin, the attorney of record for DeCastro, has also yet to file anything with the court to indicate that he has withdrawn from representing DeCastro. He would need to do so for DeCastro to return to pro se status. The case is still set to go to a jury trial on February 24, 2025.
Lane Myers arrested for contempt. First Amendment activist Lane Myers was arrested for contempt of court on Thursday when he interrupted a judge during a motions hearing who was explaining the rules of the court before the hearing. The hearing was being audio streamed on Myers' YouTube channel, and his assembled fans heard the judge indicate that profanity would not be allowed in the courtroom. Addressing Myers' previous claim that the Supreme Court's Cohen v. California ruling allowed the use of profanity in the courtroom, the judge was in the process of correcting Myers by stating that even Defendant Cohen left the jacket containing profanity outside the courtroom, as the court has the right to uphold dignity, when Myers stood up and began to gather his things. Myers inquired why there was no Zoom meeting set up for his family in Michigan to watch the proceedings. The judge explained that it was an in-person hearing to hear Myers' motion and no outside presence was required. Inexplicably, Myers said he had another court hearing to get to and began to walk out of the courtroom. The judge then held him in direct contempt of court, appointed a public defender to represent him, and then stated that another judge would preside over the contempt of court case. Myers was taken into custody immediately and his audio live stream continued for a few minutes as Myers' wife and supporters talked about what they had just witnessed. YouTuber Tuck Police Suck went live from inside the courthouse a few minutes later and explained that Myers was kidnapped by Brandon Kimmel, the head of security in the building, for contempt of court. The YouTuber claimed it was a setup and the arrest was pre-planned. He did not know what was going to happen to Myers' next scheduled hearing in another case, which had been scheduled for 10 a.m. local time. Tuck Police Suck was asked to leave the courthouse for filming within the lobby. He told the police officer on scene that he had every right to record. Police backup arrived soon after, and he was escorted out of the building. Myers can be held for up to 30 days on contempt charges in Arizona.
Delete laws makes even building a wall boring. In what has been described as typical fashion, Chille DeCastro took the fun out of his constitutional law scholar game by subjecting his fans to 2 hours of forced silence as he built a wall to use in teaching the game. DeCastro, who skipped a court hearing in California's Superior Court earlier in the day, went live after 6 p.m. Pacific Time and stayed live for over 3 hours. He explained to his audience that they would be experiencing a behind-the-scenes look at how great his product would be as he expanded his history of building wall murals devoted to his version of history. The autodidactic law scholar sounded slow and out of breath for most of the broadcast, with the wide shot doing him no favors as it displayed his prominent weight gain. DeCastro has previously stated that he now needs to wear a 2XL hoodie as he's gained so much weight since turning 50 years old earlier in the year. His reported 5 feet 3 inches stature was on display as he diligently worked, slicing paper and then gluing it to the wall of his Los Angeles studio. His frequent companion, Charlie the dog, was not in sight during the 3-hour ordeal. DeCastro greeted frequent critic Paul Unslaved to the broadcast, before starting on anti-police videos in the 3rd hour. He explained he needed to show the anti-police videos to sell his trifold products, but that soon his focus would be turning away from selling the trifolds to selling his constitutional law scholar board games. The YouTuber drew 67 people at the peak of his viewership on his live stream and strangely, did not promote his Twitter live stream. DeCastro had been directing his viewers to leave YouTube for the uncensored confines of Twitter in recent days, explaining at that time that YouTube could take his channel down at any moment and Twitter would be his future home. As soon as YouTube actually took DeCastro's channel down after a hacking that saw his channel porn spammed, DeCastro changed his tune and started to abandon focus on his Twitter. He later admitted that he made up to $5,000 in monthly revenue from his main YouTube channel and that its loss would result in his financial ruin. No mention was made of why DeCastro made the conscious choice to skip a hearing in his lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Peratini, Kate Peter, Team Skeptic and Daniel Clement, which was scheduled for earlier in the day. While DeCastro has recently bragged about being on the verge of defeating Peter in court, he is overdue in responding to filings in the case and again, no showed the status hearing set for earlier in the day. DeCastro made $143 off of Super Chats for the 3-hour and 5-minute broadcast.
Floyd Wallace reveals latest fundraising failures. Sex tourist Floyd Wallace went live on his foreign-only YouTube channel twice over Friday night and a Saturday morning as he shared the news that he had postponed his trip to Brazil as his fundraising goal of $190 was not achieved. Wallace had been increasingly desperate to return to Brazil as he believes that his channel will return to its former glory within the country. While he set Friday as his hard deadline to return to the country, he failed to prioritize the fundraiser as Wallace has so many fundraisers going at one time that it was easy to forget. After setting his first live stream to private, Wallace returned with news that he got a call from a chick who said she would accompany him on a trip down south on Saturday. He promised video from the trip should the encounter happen. Turning his attention to finances, Wallace said he was down to $1,500 that he had budgeted for this trip, and he was hoping that his fans would come through with donations to supplement his income more as he was running over budget for his activities. Wallace said that for a $150 donation, he'd get up immediately and spend 2 hours at a club. He started to prepare to go out, refusing to change clothes or make himself look nice. Then, in standard fashion, talked himself out of going out as it was too late. he was too tired, and his backup phone had mysteriously died. He then repeated that he felt too tired to go out and directed his fans to come back on Saturday to watch his adventures down south with a girl to be named later. Wallace made $2 towards his $190 goal for his Brazil trip during the broadcast. He was again frustrated by people in his chat asking questions without giving him super chat donations. He was actively banning trolls in chat as well. The YouTuber mentioned but failed to directly promote his Cash App and PayPal addresses and completely ignored his ongoing GoFundMe campaign. Wallace's campaign was part of a stagnant market for the day, as Long Island Audit's brief pop of the market again failed to sustain the drive for more than 2 days. No GoFundMe campaigns received donations on Friday. We need your help. This newscast is funded by your donations along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos and like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Guerrilla Publishing gets petty in K County, okay? Disgraced attorney Ron, Guerrilla Publishing, Durbin spent most of Friday live streaming both inside and outside of K County, Oklahoma's district court building in order to confront Pawhuska City Manager Jerry Eubanks after Eubanks pleaded no contest to 3 felony charges. Durbin had spent most of the past week investigating allegations against Eubanks and bailing out town drunks in a series of live streams. The YouTuber indicated he had a personal vendetta against Eubanks, and Durbin was building up to the final confrontation with Eubanks later in the day. Eubanks received a 5-year suspended sentence and 2 years of supervised probation on Friday, along with $33,250 in restitution owed to the city of Blackwell stemming from crimes committed when Eubanks held a managerial position with the city. According to Durbin, Eubanks immediately paid the restitution with a cashier's check, as the whole event was predetermined. Though Durbin pointed out his feeling that the city of Pawhuska was paying the restitution for Eubanks, as Eubanks was recently awarded $25,000 for overtime hours from that city. Eubanks is currently the city manager for the city of Pawhuska and has courted controversy due to the charges that he was facing for the 3 felonies and for his firing of the city of Pawhuska's police chief in September of 2024. Durbin, who is currently suspended from practicing law in the state of Oklahoma after his own problems with the law, has made it his personal goal to see Eubanks thrown out of office after being thrown out of a Pawhuska City Council meeting earlier in the year after causing a disturbance. The disgraced attorney claimed that the Pawhuska City Council is conspiring to keep Eubanks employed as he is friends with most of the city council. While there were serious charges against Eubanks going into taking the job last year, the council ignored those charges to grant Eubanks the position of city manager. After Eubanks agreed to a no-contest plea on Friday, Durbin stuck around the courthouse waiting for Eubanks to come out. When Eubanks and his wife finally came out to go to their truck, Durbin began to scream and shout at Eubanks for around 10 seconds before Eubanks pulled out of the parking area and Eubanks' wife flipped Durbin off. Satisfied by the reaction, as it was the only reason Durbin had to be at the courthouse the entire day, Durbin ended the live stream. Durbin is expected to file his multi-million-dollar federal lawsuit against the Oklahoma State Bar Association next week. He is seeking to force the entity to disband following the verdict in his favor. Denver Metro audits rages after FOIA request denied. Christopher Denver Metro audits. Cordova lashed out at the Records Department of the Jefferson County, Colorado, jail Friday afternoon as he received an email indicating that part of his records request had been denied to being over the 30-day threshold for requests. Instead of calling the facility and clearing things up, as he had previously taken video of himself making the records request in person within days of his release, the cash-strapped Cordova got in his truck and drove the over an hour drive to the facility to scream in person. Once at the jail, Cordova encountered Natalie Cabe Cozart, the records unit supervisor. While he was upset, Cordova remained cordial with her as she explained that she puts the request through but has no say in their outcome. Cozart worked with him, giving him one of the facility's iPads to get to work on with his new records requests, and was generally nice during the process, apologizing and claiming she'd follow up with someone to see what happened to his requests. Cordova was enraged. As of his 23 requests, he was granted number 1 and 10 to 23, while requests 2 to 9 were denied for being over the 30-day request window. He said that it didn't make any sense to him and was obviously retaliation by the government because they knew the requests were from footage that would be used in a documentary that would expose the prison system. The YouTuber demanded to know the full name, date of hire and salary of the individual who denied the request, Cozart's full name, date of hire and salary, and the full name, date of hire and salary of the person that Cozart was following up with. He then demanded to know the name of the facility, location address, and phone number of the archive where the records were being held. Fans were delighted as he sat in silence for several minutes as he entered his demands into the iPad, furiously tapping and typing on the unit as he composed his thoughts, at one point asking his viewers if he forgot any information that would prove valuable in his planned humiliation and retribution towards those who would deny his requests. Again, cordial to Cozart to her face as he made the requests, he wasn't so cordial as he returned to his truck. Cordova showed Cozart and Cozart's coworker Mary Fisher's business cards to the camera and passively-aggressively called for brigading the pair to get to the bottom of the denials and the conspiracy to retaliate against Cordova if you want to. Cordova had been held for 16 days at the jail in late October to early November to serve his short federal prison sentence. While the jail is a minimum security facility, the federal system does not have units designed to hold prisoners for such a short period of time. The YouTuber's requests were essentially for every piece of video the facility had taken featuring him during the time he was in jail. He is planning on producing a for-profit video with the requested footage to show his viewers the outrageous and illegal behavior the guards put him through while he was incarcerated. Cordova later live-streamed from home, where he again berated YouTube for shadow banning his main Denver Metro Audits channel after giving him a content strike for featuring nudity from a topless parade in Denver earlier in the year. It is unclear what Cordova will do with the full names, date of hire, and salaries of all the people involved in the requests, and we will provide updates here in his ongoing bout of impudent rage. Jeremiah Payne claims he is facing jail time over $600 fine. YouTuber and First Amendment auditor Jeremiah Payne held 2 emergency live streams Friday night in an attempt to raise $600 for fines he claims that are due Monday, or else he'll be put in jail for 280 days. His first live stream contained an extended side chat message from Payne. "Guys, I have to pay off $600 in fines, or else I will be arrested, and the judge himself told me if that happens, I will do 280 days in jail. Yes, I am working, but the money I make pays my rent and electric and water. And I do good to do that. Please, guys, help me and my family. I do not want to lose everything I worked so hard to get. I need y'all's help. Heck, if someone would pay the full $600 they can call, and do it, they do not even have to send me the money. I just want it paid so I can move on with my life and not have to worry about a warrant and looking over my head. And if I get caught at 280 days. So if you can and will help, here are the links so you can do that." Payne spent approximately 5 hours over 2 live streams begging his fans for help, explaining that the fine was due to be paid on Monday and that he had wanted to raise half the money Friday night and then raise the rest over Saturday and Sunday, promising to go live again Saturday afternoon. Payne was puzzled as to why his randomly held live streams were so poorly attended. The first one reached 12 total viewers at peak, before averaging 4 viewers during the broadcast. In the end, Payne claimed to have raised around $120 from 2 donations during his second live stream, before donations dried up. He also complained that a drive-by from someone with a Fraud at Wrangler YouTube name who had posted "You have end your leave, Faye" to Payne's live stream did not even spark donations. Payne pledged that the comment, which may or may not have come from the real Fraud at Wrangler, would result in the termination of Fraud at Wrangler's YouTube channel, taking time to warn Wrangler that retribution was coming. YouTube itself was also a point of contention for Payne, as he again claimed that he had been demonetized last month and did not receive the $800 in AdSense earnings he had made before his demonetization. According to Payne, his demonetization was due to YouTube not understanding that the music he's been posting is his own copyrighted work and that any claim against it is invalid. He said that YouTube turned down his appeal for being too late to appeal, and he can apply for monetization again on February 5th, 2025. Payne's lack of donations may come as he has had a long history of claiming to need variations of $600 or else his family would face eviction from various places they were staying. While he has not been as active in 2024 as he was in making pleas for money in 2023, longtime fans remember a spree of demands for money in 2023 that resulted in Payne banning hundreds of people from his live chat. His appeal to his fans, along with the claim that his wife, mother, and 7-year-old daughter will face eviction if he returns to jail, may have been too much of a reflection of his actions in 2023 and turned off his viewers again. Payne gave out all of his current Cash App and PayPal details, but left out his GoFundMe campaign details. His A Family Fallen on Hard Times fund brought in $0 for the day, with $80 raised out of a $7,000 goal. The YouTuber also ruled out help from Chille DeCastro, who is known for his fundraising skills. Payne claimed that DeCastro told him he'd never again help him raise money, even if his family was facing homelessness based on a bad experience between the two in 2023. Payne is pledged to live stream again later this afternoon. Who the heck is Lane Myers? Is he a threat to DeCastro? YouTuber and latest Chille DeCastro variant Lane Myers literally frothed at the mouth on Friday after being released from police custody on contempt charges. Myers incurred the contempt charges at a hearing the day before and was so angry that he began literally frothing at the mouth as he explained that he was taken to county jail and held when he wasn't supposed to be transported out of the courthouse. He said that once he saw a judge, the judge threw out the contempt of court charges against him, as the contempt of court charges needed to be handled at the county courthouse and Myers should have been released same day. So who is Lane Myers? Lane Myers is establishing a cult following as he's the new version of Chille DeCastro. Or maybe a better version of DeCastro, as he provides crude entertainment value for being fearless as he talks to police officers, judges, and elected officials. He's based out of Tucson, Arizona, is married to a lawyer, and claims to have Tourette's syndrome, which gives him free rein to swear at, degrade, or attack anyone as part of his condition. Myers attracted the attention of Chille DeCastro earlier in the year, as DeCastro was impressed by Myers' ability to talk over police and judges and do something that DeCastro has little experience with, when court cases concerning charges brought against him. Since his appearance on DeCastro's show, Myers has exploded in popularity as his over-the-top antics in court, often screaming at and talking over judges without repercussions, has brought in big audiences and interests. While some have said that the auditor known as First Amendment Protection Agency has taken over DeCastro's self-appointed role as the pretty boy of First Amendment auditing, Myers has taken everything else. He routinely brings in bigger crowds than DeCastro, has a more rabid following, and frankly, cares nothing about his growing popularity at all. A recent criticism about DeCastro is that he's too safe, that he panders to those who want to keep the peace just to continue making money off his fans by keeping the system exactly the way it is now. Myers, on the other hand, goes straight for a fight with the system, demanding change and being an unrelenting force in his efforts. Even when Myers is jailed, unlike DeCastro, he causes so much trouble that he punishes his captors, only to brag about it later. His videos are seen as much more entertaining than DeCastro's sanitized videos, as he is willing to take risks and force the police into acting against him. Because Arizona allows audio recording of court hearings as long as the judge has been notified, for example, Myers follows the rule and takes it a step further by live streaming every hearing on YouTube and daring anyone to stop his stream. Myers' ability to spout legal jargon, often loudly, and showing a complete misunderstanding of the cases he is screaming about, counters DeCastro's ability to mangle case law in a more entertaining fashion to many, resulting in his growing popularity. With his growing and active fan base, many of whom were former followers of DeCastro, Myers is growing his brand into something rivaling the size of DeCastro's current active subscriber base, and may soon threaten to overtake DeCastro as the go-to auditor for sheer insane entertainment value on YouTube.